well, it has been a very, very rich session, and we have heard about the same problems that have been there for so many years, especially well, about capitalist exploitation, mining, extraction, the well, forcing farmers from the land. Well, we see all these problems, and yet from the stories that have been shared today, there is such a lot of hope, because we can see the determination and the courage of the rural and indigenous communities that have been, well, fighting for their own livelihood, but also fighting for their dignity. And so thank you again to all the speakers today. Well, we have some of our old friends being here, and they have struggled their whole lives. And for example, for Muthu-san, he's now 90 years old, but he has been struggling against militarism and for people's sovereignty for over 70 years. So I would like now to invite some of the friends who are here and see if you would like to make any comments. So Muthu, Jongok, Arjun, Latawan, Francis, Melanie, Ed, Seiko, would any of you like to say something?
Very, very interesting, exciting quotes from friends. Most of them, perhaps all of them, younger than I. And one thing I'm struck is that the world hasn't yet changed, because the same problems, same difficulties, same sufferings were there 20 years ago, 8 years ago. But the struggle continues, and the struggle now, I think, is not just continuing what we have been doing, but now I think there's an element that must bind all those struggles and peoples together. I think how we can find ways to get together and form people in the world. I think the crisis we are facing, humankind is facing, is something we have never experienced. And so all of us are talking about that. Global warming, etc., etc. Civilizational crisis, etc. But establishment, capitalists, governments, they are doing exactly the same thing that they were doing for decades, for centuries maybe. That's why we have to repeat the same stories. Now, when the global crisis is impending, so I think it is very important that Tuki and others took the initiative to revive the spirit of PP21. Because when we started it in the last century, we are just talking about it. We meant it, but we didn't realize what it can mean that we need an alliance of hope beyond borders, beyond differences. ethnic, gender, and other differences. And that process, I think, we are in now, of trying to at least alleviate, but finally end oppression, suppression, exploitation. And that is a process of struggle. And that process of struggle is a process of alliance making. How can we do the two things at the same time, in the same process, together? I think the very serious question we talk now. Very serious. Because we can't continue this way for too long. And people governing the world are totally not serious. They talk about good things, but they don't mean it. But we mean it. And that's the impression I got from the struggles that we talked about. And I think it's good. Despite all the negative things, all the difficulties, I think time is now. Now meaning one century, this century, or 10 years from now. I think that is very, very crucial. That's how I felt from very, you can say, encouraging stories now told. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Buttu-san. So, Seiko, would you like to say something?
Thank you very much. All the speakers, even it comes to 3 hours, but I never get tired of the old stories, that many places and many things happened. But I think, today's story is all about the land and then life. And then as Mio mentioned about the farmers from Narita, I remind one thing that, I was so shocked when the farmers against the Narita airport at that time, women farmers group said, even after the opening of the airport, government continued to evacuating the farmers because of the new construction of the runways. And then government tried to give that, kind of the negotiation to the farmers to set up the relocation site. And what the farmers said, no, what we need is not only the land, we need the soil, what we have been cultivating for many years to make this rich in this environment. So if the government give us all soils we cultivating to relocate to us, okay, we can maybe agree on that. That is a point that because, I'm an old generation. And then when I went to the Narita airport, even before that, not opening that airport yet, that was the quite political struggle against that, straight to the state power, against the riot police, and then radical students and then activists came all over the Japan. But nowadays, still after 40 years, even Okinawa is more than that, the struggle is still continue, on that side. And then why this time I recommend Mio Nogawa, like that, born in the 82, and then a very young generation, they are recreating that the different alternative forms of the struggle compared with that before. And then still there. So not only that, case study from Japan today, but even in that, Thailand, Philippines, or, India, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, the problem is still there. The land and life issue is there. But I can also see that, as Kinchi said, it's a positive alternative way. And then people are creating that the different, method and different ideas to how to really grassroots it to that, the mind of the people. So today's meeting was, quite very rich for me. And then this process is only, I think that PP21 process can, continue as that, not token issue, not, we found that so many issues still remained. So I really hope that, this kind of the sharing will be continuing toward that, how Muto said that, to make a process of the People's Alliance, but what kind of the form we can get together. Maybe we need a little bit more time to do that. But thank you again for Kinchi and then Margaret to organize and then coordinate this kind of the wonderful meeting. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimashita.
Okay, so how about Melanie?
Thank you very much for setting up this panel. It's really wonderful. And also, sad at the same time, yeah, to hear all this story of similar pattern everywhere. We were expecting here that in the past 2 years that the COVID pandemic should be a wake-up call, because in Indonesia, all this liberal paradigm that has, taxed the land or ecology so much has really resulted in a disaster, a lot of disaster. And Indonesia is very prone because they, in the volcanic area and, and also the deforestation is so massive that the climate change is already felt everywhere. So we were expecting that this should be a wake-up call. But again, it's not that easy. Government has already realized about, started to listen at least. And, but again, the politics, the local politics, the 4-year, always this voting, etc. It's sort of a, sometimes it just distracts the bigger picture. And since people just want to get to win, to get the, to get the votes, etc., they want to try easy game and also to get easy money from, all these businesses. So we have to face all these problems at the same time. But as many of you have already mentioned, there is also hope and optimism at the same time, because of the massivity of this problem. Actually, the government started to realize that at least they have to do something. And again, the approach is like just now Seiko has mentioned, the approach has been diverse, more diverse now and changing. And the local farmers, indigenous community are now becoming real subject, and it's not the NGO and then there's voicing them anymore, but it's more sort of a different kind of transdisciplinary practice of bringing the voices together. And the younger generation, women, these are all already working in a way to sort of to foreground the issue. So I don't think we should be discouraged at this moment, and especially looking at all these different movements, we should continue, connecting. And connection is, I think, most important, as we are all, each of us are, founded by our local politics. So if we can transcend it and make a solidarity movement and bringing the indigenous community from here to here, you know, through different methods and different ways of learning from each other movement, I think it is empowering and we should not give us hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie. And Francis, would you like to say something? I see that you also put in some words in the chat box.
Yeah, I mean, this was a very uplifting, presentation by everybody, and I learned a lot. And it's extremely important at a time when you actually don't know where to go to look for good practices. I mean, the West is a big mess, and we used to turn to them for examples, lessons. No longer, we're not interested. And even within our own countries, huge problems in the urban areas, industrial centers, among the elites. And lo and behold, today's presentation told us about things that we can learn from the ordinary people, and building their own communities. And I think this is so important. And in a sense, this whole think global, act local thing is not just a cliche. There's a lot of sense there. Think global, act local. I think in that light, one of the themes that perhaps didn't come out yet is that the struggle for tomorrow also involves a decentralization of the nation state as we know it today. You cannot change the entire world tomorrow. You probably cannot even change what's happening in our own countries tomorrow. But let us create that additional space that we need by demanding, fighting for the local areas so that we can actually use our own knowledge to develop it. We can bring the whole community to get involved, men, women, children, all kinds of people. And it's a space also for us to, project our own traditions, our own cultures, which came up in the discussion on the Lumats and all that. It's very important. So that aspect is very important. So that's the only one thing perhaps that I want to highlight. I want to end by saying that for the younger people who are here, speaking as an elder person, this group of people I've grown up with and I've learned a lot from. So you must continue this tradition of, joining hands with people from Japan and Korea and India and Sri Lanka and Malaysia and Indonesia and Thailand. You must continue that tradition, which was PP21, joining hands to work together to create a new future in the 21st century. So yours is PP22, and make sure you take us there full of hope, full of positive changes. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Francis. And Jungkook, would you like to say something?
Yes, it is very nice to see old friends and new comrades together. So all those kind of issues, though the formalities might not be the same, but structure is I think it's common. So in Korea also, we all the politicians and all the social scientists have worried about some kind of demise of a local community. So how to revive those kind of a local community is closely related with the foreign workers and marriage migrants. So we try to build up new community with the new newcomers during, for example, during the COVID-19 situations. We have translated 9 different languages, but those volunteers all came from marriage migrants. So they conveyed the situation with their own languages, and for the foreign workers and for their relatives. So in that sense, in a different situation, we can make our own space on our own way. For the land issue also, so we have a very, Asia has the communal tradition, some kind of a common ownership of land and natural resources, but the development state have hijacked the land ownership on their own so-called growth project. But usually the procurement of government are delivered to corporations. So from community to state and to corporations. So that kind of a certain way of vicious circle have been developed within Asia. But with the intervention of the people and like-minded people, like the people we were together, we try to intervene and make our own new space within those kind of very vicious games. So I think through Kinchi, we try to find the peace women story activities. So sharing the stories and try to find some commonalities and solidarity building is the some kind of a quick and always relevant answer to encourage us. So in that sense, I was envious of new generations engagement, sometimes make the same voices, sometimes in a more innovative way. So I was much encouraged with those kind of voices. And always Kinchi and Margaret, we were together in 95 Beijing Women's Conference. So from that on, some has changed, some still is there. But I were deeply encouraged with our old friends, somewhat different voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Jungkook. And Ed, are you there?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate Kinchi and Margaret for organizing this really impressive panel of speakers from several countries in Asia, in East Asia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia, to present some very important shavings on the situation in the respective countries, as well as providing alternatives to the various challenges that are confronting Asian peoples. This is really a great panel. I'm happy to have participated in it. And we have asked Ananeza Aban to represent the Arena Philippines to present on the situation in Mindanao. Presentations also reminded me of the time I was with Arena working in Hong Kong when we organized a conference in Kerala in 1996, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on integrating alternative development efforts in Asia. And we brought together practitioners and representatives from different organizations in Asia to present what they have been doing on the ground as in terms of alternatives to the existing oppressive capitalist neoliberal system. And that was really a very great opportunity for us to learn what is taking place in various parts of Asia. And Arena published that into a book, which unfortunately is no longer available, but it's available in electronic, as an electronic copy, which if you don't have a copy of that, I can share that through the Arena Fellows chat group or in the Google group. But I'm also reminded of the time I was in Sanrizuka back in 1983, where I visited the farmers and their supporters in Narita, who were struggling against the construction of the Narita airport. And that was also quite inspiring for me. Lastly, I would say we should continue with uncovering, documenting, and publishing and sharing as widely as possible more alternative practices, especially from the grassroots, as a community and grassroots responses to the onslaughts of neoliberal globalization and the oppressive structures on exploitation within each particular country. We have started this at the University of the Philippines together with Ananeza and some other staff people. We have published about 50 or so cases of alternative practices, and they are all available online at the UPCIDS website, which you can easily access. But we will, although this is confined to Southeast Asia, although our definition of Southeast Asia is much larger than the normal conception, because we also include Northeast India as well as Southwest China as part of the greater Southeast Asia region. So we hope to do more of this in the future, and we hope that we can count on ARENA fellows as well as network members of the Global Network for Sustainability in order to document, disseminate, share, and more important, conduct people-to-people exchanges. So grassroots and communities who are undertaking alternative practices can share their experiences with others in other countries, learn from each other, and hopefully come up with an alternative paradigm for development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. And Margaret just put the link to some of the, to actually all of ARENA's publications that has been uploaded onto the website. And Latawan, would you like to say something?
Well, first of all, thank you, Inti and Margaret, for this wonderful discussion. I'd like to congratulate you all to be able to organize this. I think this is a very important, like many are saying, that connecting, networking, sharing, learning, I think all of this level, it is very important to enrich, to empower the people. This must be going on, I mean, indefinitely. Structuring, learning, sharing, connection. I mean, we look at the government, the rural, they're always connecting. They always have a meeting. But the grassroots people have rarely chance to meet, exchange, learn from each other because of many limitations. But nowadays, with this kind of, internet, with kind of social media, it helps facilitate us to learn, to be able to connect to each other. So I'm glad that we are now moving on with PP21 to PP22, 23. And I think we have to move on forever because learning never be ending. And I would like to mention also that this opportunity is with the Asian Pacific Social Forum for 3 days. There still has many forums going on tomorrow. Still many self-organized forums and inviting everyone to join with several issues. Actually, now today is still on cultural exchange is still going on under this Asian Social Pacific Asian Pacific Social Forum. And I think that we are looking forward for PP21 to intervene in the World Social Forum in May in Mexico. So I think, of course, it will be a kind of hybrid on-site and maybe online. We'll see how to plan out. They're going to plan out how people be able to participate as many as possible, be able to interconnect it as much as possible. I think this is the powerful of people to be able to express, to be able to voice out, and this already give impact to the change of the world. Thank you, Kimchi. Thank you, Margaret.
Just would like to share a little bit, just few minutes to saying that relation to the issue of the lands that we have experienced before, and connection to the issue of the pandemic that we found just facing these 2 years. Just recently that we have been visit to one of our communities, and the leader they said that even the government they will announce for lockdown the community for 2-3 years, this community they would not have any problem about the food problem because they are able to access to the land. So I think the land issue will be the answer for everything. No? So I just would like to confirm that if we are able to access to the land, so we are able to, how to say, to secure or to have still maintain our life, or don't need any support from the government, even though they have some like the pandemic like this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ananeza, would you like to say something?
Yeah, Kinchi. I just miss all of you. Definitely. I miss seeing you face to face, like Francis, Margaret, of course, Jung-ok, Mutusano, and everybody that I met in Hong Kong. And that was my first time in the Arena conference. And I look forward, that we can have convergence again. And it's a good opportunity for me to join this online meeting because I was just a participant before. So this time it's good that, I mean, I was so reluctant to participate in some of your meetings because you're all familiar with one another. I am new, somehow like a new generation of fellows in Arena. So I'm trying to, get in touch, but but I'm always inspired by the wisdom that you have, the learnings that you always share in all these online learnings. No, I may not be able to participate in everything, but from time to time, I look at the Arena website and actually also lifted some of the documents. So yeah, just to ask your permission. It's really helpful for our own research as well. Perhaps one of the challenges that we must take apart from Asia, we have some people, or we have some fellows who are also into alternative, waging for alternatives in other regions. No, I'm sure you heard about some of our friends like Ashish Kothari and Gustavo Esteva is, I think, very active in this conference. So there's this, like, one of the examples is the Global Tapestry of Alternatives, which is GTA. I'm not sure if Arena is a part of that, or PP21 is planning to engage on that platform. So and there's so many inspiring cases of struggles and solidarity across regions, and it definitely challenges us and at the same time inspires us to continue the activism, continue the commitment. And of course, I never get tired of listening to all the cases, because it offers hope. It's not just the issues and the problems that we take, but as I see, like, for example, in this panel, what is so important is I have another knowledge about, or learning about, what is happening to other communities, grassroots communities that are not really heard of, no, or underreported or under-narrated. And yet these are very powerful stories that inspire us and continue our mission in society. So I really look forward to more somehow like online activities and more young people to join in Arena or PP21 or Global South. So what is that? Global South Sustainability Solidarity. So yeah, and count me in hopefully in the next events. Thank you, Kinshi.
Thank you, Aban. So now I'd like to invite Yan Xiaohui.
非常高兴
Thank you.
会参加这个会。我
I'm
今天下午
very honored to be able to be in this panel. I also learned a lot because of the pandemic, at least for 2 years. We don't have much chance to meet in person or any chance to go out to any other communities for investigations and to exchange. But so it's still a very nice opportunity to have such an opportunity to learn with each other, learn from the communities of some local experience, and to be able to discuss. Although we are still trapped in this pandemic, but we would like to take this opportunity, to take this chance in order to go beyond the boundaries, go beyond the geographical boundaries and limitations, to gain this chance, opportunity to build such an alliance beyond people, beyond different races. But I still want to add one more point. Sometimes we have to distinguish the word fighting. The fight against governments, and is different from the fight against bureaucracy, because what we are against is the bureaucratic regulation. We are not really go against government. We are not trying to be anarchists. So this is what we want to clarify, especially to Chinese audience. Secondly, when we are criticizing the capitalist economy body, we are not really go against all kinds of economic activities. What we advocate for is the local, small, and that is really linked with real economy, this kind of enterprises and activities. Because sometimes because of the translation, the words we use in Chinese and English are different. So that's why among the Chinese audience, there could be some misunderstanding. So in one word, we would hope that after today, I also gained a lot of information and also confidence, because this pandemic really disheart people, especially nowadays in Hong Kong. We also have a spike, and lots of people are going through some very sad moments, because in Hong Kong, even in Hong Kong, some old people didn't get the chance to be admitted into hospital in time. So hopefully through today's meeting, we can feel some warmth. So thank you, Professor Lau, and thank you, Tsui, Margaret, to give us such a chance to know each other and to learn from each other.
Thank you, Xiaohui. So I'll be very brief, because I'd like to first thank our two interpreters. They've been interpreting for over 3 hours now, but I also still want to say something, but very quickly. One is, I think today we touch on the very key question of land, but then on the other hand, while we see some communities fighting for land, for community managed forests, etc., we also see large exodus from the villages. And so that is also why we played the song, well, Love for Our Home Village, which is a campaign that has been going on in China through our rural reconstruction movement for almost 10 years. And many of the participants today in the Zoom, they are also part of that project, such as Ko Hao and He Jixiong and many other young friends. So I feel that when we are, we should be on the one hand archiving our histories of struggle, looking back, reviewing where we had met almost irreversible damages and challenges, but then at the same time that would serve as a basis for our continuing our struggles, learning from past lessons, and which is why we have this group called the PP21 process. We see this as a process so that we wouldn't be demoralized by specific defeats or failures, but that we see that the struggles must go on. And today we have about 150 participants in this webinar, and from East Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and I feel that, and we also see so many young faces, and also we see so many women being actively involved in the communities. So I feel that, well, of course, we continue with the process. And I think what we would need to look at is not only about analysis of capitalism, but the whole question of the colonialism and also of modernity. And so that is also, and on the other hand, we have heard today from especially from the indigenous communities, where there is this very deep spiritual and cultural attachment to land and to the community. And that is something I think we should be learning from. And so we hope to hear more about these stories. And lastly, I feel that, well, despite all the adversities that are there, we still have to try to make the most from them. So for example, with the pandemic, then we have been going online and connecting much more frequently with our friends from different countries. And so for, well, Global University has already started one series on Chiapas, and another starting in February, and then in January. And then we are also starting one series of lectures on Africa, so that we can also learn from the very rich traditions and how they have been so marginalized by capitalism and by colonialism. So we'll keep you informed about all these activities. But I think that today with the pandemic, then we are also seeing new opportunities, especially opportunities for self-reliance and for delinking. Delinking from the finance dominated economies, delinking from the reliance on inorganic agriculture. And so there have been a lot of possibilities that we are seeing with which are already practiced today among communities. So now we can also see better conditions for the urbanization and relocalization. So ideas about, well, food sovereignty, preservation of seeds, and also for local production, for local consumption. So all these ideas that have been there and all these practices that have always been there, then I think we can be learning more from them and also to be connecting more with each other. So thank you again, everybody, for coming to this session.